how you got involved in harm reduction, if you want.
Hopefully I still, like, I mean, I'd like to get back into it. You know, it was kind of, like, fucked up the way everything went down.
Let you talk. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions at first, you know? Take one with Dana Saltamachia. Am I right?
Sounds good.
Or did I say it wrong?
Saltamachia.
Saltamachia. That's probably the coolest last name you've ever heard.
Some gangster.
Yeah. So Dana, where'd you grow up?
So I was born at West Jefferson in Morel, on the west side, West Bank, Louisiana, like in the New Orleans area, kinda, and grew up like all throughout the city. So I mean, I've been in like Kenner, the West Bank, New Orleans East, like in a little bit of Metairie, New Orleans downtown, uptown, mostly in like the 6th and 7th ward. And that's, I was there in New Orleans my whole life, up until Hurricane Katrina. So I was there for Katrina, and when Katrina happened, I was like 8 months pregnant during the whole Katrina thing, and my dude was like, I don't want to wait in this line, fuck that, tell him you're having contractions. So I was like, he's like, hey man, my girl's pregnant and she's having pains. And so the people came, and when they checked me, I was like, for real, like dilated. So he kind of screwed us, because they put me on a helicopter and they're like, you can't take anybody with you. So they took me by myself from the line of waiting to get shipped off wherever, on a helicopter to Baton Rouge, and they took them here to Austin. And I basically hitchhiked from Baton Rouge to Austin when I found out Red Cross called me, and I found out that this is where they were.
So tell me a little. So you were obviously an adult when you moved to Austin, and you were in the wards in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you did in the wars in Louisiana.
Okay, so I mean, I've been mostly, pretty much my whole life, I've been involved in sex work and prostitution. I mean, however you want to call it or whatever. But hustling, I mean, sex work, boosting, slinging, pickpocketing, I mean, everything. If you can make money doing it, we did it. And with me being so young when I was on my own and everything, I wasn't even old enough to work or whatever, so I kind of had to figure out different ways to make money, So I just did whatever I had to.
I want to ask, how are the drugs in Louisiana compared to Austin? When the drugs were good in Austin?
When were they good in Austin? I don't know,
I thought they were good back in the day, 10 years ago,
I mean, in comparison, when I first came here from Louisiana, I was like, well, everything is bigger,
So you buy 20s in Austin, they have dimes over there in Louisiana?
Dude, a 20 here is a freaking damn near $100 piece. There, I mean, a nickel piece is $20. It's kind of up north, almost as far as the rock and stuff goes,
Here.
Oh, here? A 20 is huge. I don't know, it's huge.
Yeah,
they're huge.
Right. So you get a lot more for your money in Austin, is what you're saying.
A lot more baking soda and whip and blow up.
How old were you when you came to Austin?
Gosh dang. Born in '83, hurricane in 2005. What was I, 18 maybe? I was about 18. You're the same age as me. I'm trying to think, as far as the age goes, how old?
What year?
August 2005.
We were 23, 24.
Okay.
Something
Cool.
like that.
Where were your parents at?
So
Gone.
your parents gone. So you obviously came to a point where you decided that you weren't going to live like this anymore. At one point, Tell me what it was like in Austin leading up to that, and like what parts of town you were in, the dope you were doing, and what you had to do for the dope.
So.
And then when you finally were like, you know what, I'm done with this shit, I'm changing.
So, like I was saying, I was pregnant when Katrina hit. So I was already like 8 months pregnant when I got out here. So the thought was already kind of in my head of like, you know, wanting to like, maybe I could do something different, you know, like just the thought. But then like my whole pregnancy, I was like in this denial too. So like, I kind of just pretended like it wasn't there, like it didn't exist, you know, because sometimes like some of the stuff that I think we go through, like if you don't pretend it doesn't or not think about it or just kind of like, you know, give yourself some kind of delusion, like you'd probably be insane, you know, you couldn't live with yourself and it was like you wouldn't be able to go on, you know. I think a lot of women out there have to go through that as moms, you know, like, you know, I don't think any mother like, you know, doesn't love their kid. I mean, there's some shitty people out there, but for the most part, I don't think there's any mother that like doesn't love their kid, you know, and want the best or whatever. Maybe they're just not capable of doing that, you know, or don't know what they're doing. But so I think like a lot of times like that's where the whole like I know a lot of people are judgmental about women abusing drugs and everything. I used like the whole time I was pregnant, like I said, kind of in denial. Like when I went into labor here, like my water broke and I was taking a hit off crack pipe and I had just done like a big old shot of dope. And like my baby's dad was standing and he was like, we gotta get you to the hospital, your water broke. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready, I can't go. Like, and he had to like pick me up and like basically like carry me to the car and like make me go to the hospital because I wouldn't have went. Like if no one had been there, like I'd have stayed at the house, I wouldn't have went. Like I couldn't.
You had to fix right?
I fixed, but I didn't want to face what was coming, you know. Like I wasn't ready for that. Like I wasn't ready for the pregnancy, you know. I wasn't ready for any of that, you know. But I don't believe.
It was gonna happen when you got there.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, not exactly, and it shocked me a little bit the way things happened. But I knew it wasn't good. I know exactly what was gonna happen, but I knew it wasn't gonna be good. So.
How did it go down?
Well, so I'm nodding out during delivery. Like they're telling me to wake up, I gotta push, and I'm like, you know, nodding out like I'm sleeping, you know, and they keep trying to wake me up and everything during the labor, and so I had the baby. And then, you know, baby's like perfectly healthy, like, you know, good weight, everything. And so I'm looking and I was like,
Boy or girl?
Little boy. So Deshaun Patrick. So October 7th is when I had him. So I was like thinking, I was looking at the baby and like, of course baby daddy wasn't there. You know, like he was embarrassed because I'm like nodding out and stuff. And like, so I'm like thinking, you know, shit, I need to like do something different, you know. I was thinking like kind of like going down my mom's path, and so shit, like, you know, maybe just go home and like get all this shit and like keep the baby and all that, and like trying to figure out how I'm gonna work that out. And you know, I had got an apartment from FEMA, so like I had housing, so that was the first, you know, that's you know, one thing on the checklist, yeah. So you know, I'm thinking, well, shit, I'm in a good position at the moment. Maybe not a great position, but I figured I was alright to go ahead and try to get on my feet. So, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm holding the baby, but I'm high, I'm like nodding, you know, like falling asleep with the baby, but I didn't want them to take the baby, like, because I want to just, you know, hold him, and next thing I know, this lady comes in with like a fucking, she's got a clipboard, and she's like, oh, like mean mugging me and everything, and so the nurse comes in behind her, and she's like, take the baby. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And she's like, sign this paper. And I was like, sign what? And I'm like, what do you want me to sign? And she was like, we're terminating your rights. And I was like, mine ain't signing shit, fuck you. You know, like I cussed her ass out. And so like in the report, I remember reading the report, and they had a problem with me because they felt I was aggressive and I was combative. And I was like, well, I said, you know, if I'm not aggressive and combative, then maybe you should be concerned. You know, you're taking my kid. Like, what am I supposed to be like? Here you go, yo.
It
It's
would
not.
have been different if you weren't combative.
Yeah, like, so it's like, what the hell, you know? So I mean, they didn't offer me any help or like ask what was going on or anything or like none of that shit, you know. And so I think they do a lot better now.
They
You know,
offer, like treatment or
no,
nothing.
no, like there's
You know, plan.
nothing
Get the
positive,
baby back or nothing.
nothing positive. It was like, take the baby, and you know, you ain't got to sign it. We're taking it anyway. You know, like, and no, like, you know, let's talk about this. You know, we found drugs in the baby system. How can we help you? None of that shit. It was just like, you're a piece of shit. Like, you know, you're using it and you're pregnant and like taking the kid. Like, you don't deserve to be. You don't deserve shit. You know. So I leave after that happens. They won't let me go to the nursery. Like, I can't hold the baby. I can't do nothing. They just cut everything off. So I'm like, they're like, where are you going? You just had a baby. I'm like, the fuck I gotta be here for? And like, I'm upset, you know. So I leave. I'm taking the bus back to the house. I got the baby bracelet on and everything. And I called a friend of mine, got a Western Union, like, you know, because I didn't have any cash or whatever. And at this point, yeah, like, I mean, they took the kid. I'm like, fuck that, I'm getting high. Like, so I'm at the bus stop.
What was your drug of choice at that time?
Heroin and crack. It's always been the same. So officer, was it Miles? I don't know. This is a narcotics officer. Dude's a fucking Nazi. Like, I'm at the fucking bus stop, and I'm going back to my crib. You know, like, I'm in the hospital. I just had a baby. They took the baby. I'm a mess. And he was like, oh, look who it is. You know, like, what you doing? You turning tricks? And I was like, man, I said, look. And I showed the baby bracelet. I said, I just had a baby. I said, and I'm coming from the hospital. And he's like, man, that's sad. He's like, you just had a baby out here selling that pussy already. Like, talking real crazy to me and shit.
He talked to you like that?
Yeah. Yeah, like, and so I was like, he took me to jail, dude. Like, I'm still like, I'm like not even 24 hours of having a baby. And he like takes me to jail, and I wasn't even doing nothing. Like, on
He takes you to jail on suspicion that you're using drugs.
solicitation.
And you weren't even soliciting.
Wow. No.
How long did you stay locked up at that point?
That was 8 days on that one.
Fucking 8 days of bullshit.
Yeah, 8
Did you
days.
get charged?
Hell yeah, I got
So you went to
convicted.
Del Valley for like a couple days.
What
Yep.
proof did they have?
Nothing. My background, like, I mean, I have several charges. I have affidavits people signed on me because, like, you know, people that had like families, wives, and stuff, and they didn't want to go to jail, so they signed an affidavit saying that I was soliciting them so that they wouldn't get charged. And I wouldn't even, like, we were just talking, like, if somebody I might be just having a conversation with, you know, like, once you got that fucking rap sheet, like, if you get stopped, they can, like, pretty much put you with it.
Probable cause.
Yeah. Like, one time I didn't have no money or nothing, and the cops I had like a little Debbie donuts and a milk I was drinking, and they went and rung it up on the register and said I was prostituting for like $4 and something for like the donuts and the milk.
So what happened? You got released. So you had your baby, went to jail.
Yep. 7 days, 8 days, you know.
Then what?
Then, like, came home. Baby daddy's like, where the fuck you been at? I got my ass whooped. Like, because I, like, had been missing for 7 days or whatever. It was just one thing after another. So I left there, and I went to the hospital. Because my kid's, like, still there. And, like, all this shit happened. I'm like, I'm still trying to go up there, you know. So, like, get home, change clothes. Then go back up to the hospital, and I could just, like, hear, like, crying. And, like, so, you know, the baby was in NICU with the methadone and stuff, you know, doing the withdrawals and, like, getting switched over and all that. So I wanted to, like, you know, go in there and, like, can I hold him? And, like, they wouldn't let me, like, back there at all. So that was, like, after that, I pretty much didn't do anything else.
So what did you do after that? Did you surrender?
Like, I just started getting, that's when my drug habit, like, really, really, like, got to its worst. You know, like, right before I went to the feds and stuff. And I just had pretty much gave up. I mean, that was a hell of a fucking week, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's just like one thing after another, and it was just too much at the time, like, because when we're using right to like cover something up or to, you know, because we're not really dealing with our shit at that time, so like it's just like a overload. I know when I had the 13 years of sobriety, like I pretty much could take anything, you know what I mean? Like my uncle be like, how are you? Are you okay? Are you thinking about using? And I'm like, dude, I've been through way worse shit than that. That ain't shit. I'm good. Like, but when we're using, it's almost like we don't have, even if we have great coping skills and, you know, we know how to fucking cope, it's like some of that shit goes out the window and we're not able to cope as much. You know? It's like things just seem to crush you. Can I get a water?
Of course.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but yeah, it was like, that was just one kind of shitty life event, one of the most shittiest.
Is the mic messed up?
Is it?
No, you're good.
But yeah, that was
So all that mayhem, in 1 week, all that damn mayhem.
yeah.
So when you got home, you got your ass beat.
Yeah.
And
Shit spiraled down.
I mean, you just kept getting high on speedballs. Did you use Kool-Aid or lemonade? What did you use to break down your crack?
So I have broken down crack to shoot. I'm more of a crack smoker. I like to smoke my crack and shoot my dope, my heroin.
Would
So-
you choose lemon juice or
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid?
Because I like the different
Kool-Aid all the
flavors.
way.
I like the
Breaks it down
flavors.
way quicker and you can taste it.
The only time I've ever used lemon juice is one time in the hospital when I was under arrest. And like, so I had like an IV in there and I had like a rock in my mouth. And so like they brought the tea in and with the little lemon things. And like the law had like fell asleep. Like he was supposed to be watching me, but he fell asleep. I have an escape charge because of this. And I like literally like jumped out the window and broke both my feet. And ran for like about 2 blocks, like after like shooting a rock.
What hospital was this?
Charity Hospital in New Orleans.
Oh, you was in New Orleans.
In New
okay.
Orleans, yeah. They have a blue ribbon on that door that said first place for best escape. Yeah.
So, when you decided to get into sobriety, what did that look like? And how did
I didn't decide to get into sobriety. I got arrested. No, but no, I did decide. I did make a decision at some point. Like I'm like joking about that. But so I went to New Orleans. I got raped by a NOPD officer, a narcotics officer in New Orleans, like right before the hurricane. And
On the street?
he like used his badge to gain entry to the trap house I was staying in. And like that was like August 2005. It was like front page of the news. It's so crazy. It happened that night. By like 6 a.m. in the morning, it's front page of the newspaper already, and like the whole street was lined with cop cars.
So he raped you in the trap house?
Uh-huh.
How many people were in the trap house?
Like about 15 at least.
And nobody did shit?
Well, yeah, that's how he got caught. That's the crazy thing. So payphones back. This is like payphones. This is how old I am.
Oh, come on, girl. You're
So
I'm about to be in my prime here in a couple of years.
that's what I say. I'm just starting to like, you know, feel good, you know. But so he like was looking for someone else that hung out there, I guess, or whatever. I guess he got ballsy that night and fucking was like, I don't know what the hell. But like, so he's like, you know, use the badge. I'm laying in the back with my baby daddy, and like, cause this is like right before I'm pregnant and everything. So I'm laying in the back, and all of a sudden we hear, everybody, put your hands where I can see him, blah, blah, blah. He's walking back, and I see a bat. I was like, they're like, it's the fucking cops. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm like, this is not how they normally come in. You know, normally, like, they're just like, bam, rush through and whatever. And all I see is like a bat. I was like, what the? So my baby daddy's there, and he's like, he's like, get to the front. Like, told my baby's dad to go to the front of the house, and it was me and another girl back there. And like he told us to go to the back. He had his gun, and he told us like go to the back of the house. And so like we're in the back, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take everybody to jail, and y'all better do this and that. Or like, you know, I'm putting charges on everybody in the house and all this kind of stuff. So he was like, I'm not gonna get too graphic with it, but anyway, he got charged with aggravated rape and aggravated assault, and they like took his badge and you know.
I hope they threw the book at him.
Huh?
I hope they threw
Dude,
the book at him.
he got 6 years and did 2 months, and they suspended the rest of the sentence. So like that was his like he did 2 months on an aggravated rape, aggravated assault. So
Wants to register as a sex offender.
I'm sure he does. I mean, like I didn't look too much into it, but I mean, yeah.
We better.
Okay, so I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's really uncool. So that happened. Then what happened as far as getting towards to where you weren't using?
A lot's happened. That happened. The cop thing. I got shot right before the hurricane. I fucking.
How'd you get shot? Why?
Why? My dude decided to like take somebody's stash. I wasn't even there. Like I was in jail. He decided to like go check his trap, and I guess his trap apparently was like this dope dealer stash spot. And so like he got a hold of his stash, and it just so happened that he was in jail, and I like wasn't around. So I mean, not I wasn't around. He wasn't around. He went to jail, and I was out. So this guy was following me. I went to go get cigarettes late at night on North Villery. This guy was following me, and like he ended up like I went to go give him like a fake number or whatever. So I like wrote the number down, went to give it to him, and when I wrote it down, he pulled his shirt up and like put the gun in my face, and he was like, "Ain't you D's girl?" And I was like, when he said, "Ain't you D's girl?" I just knew, like I knew what time it was. So like dude just like D's girl. Like I knew that he knew who I was. He wasn't really just trying to like hook up or whatever. I knew that something was up. So, and that dude had got me in so much shit. I'm not talking about like, that's just one of the many incidents of the shit I got into with him. But anyway, dude shot at me like 6 times, hit me 2 times. It was like a revolver, like a 22 or something. It doesn't shoot out case, I don't know. They didn't have any shells. Yeah. So like, but luckily I didn't get like super bad injuries. I got my it grazed my hand right here, but you could like see the bone, like you can see in there. And then like I got hit in the leg, like, but both of them were like pretty, what do you call it, superficial, like not that huge of a deal. I didn't even
grazed, basically.
Yeah, I didn't even know that I had gotten shot, to be honest with you. Like I was so scared, like when I went into the store and like
I hear that a lot when people tell me about when they get shot.
You don't feel it. Like I just felt heat. I felt like hot, like burning, and like that was it, you know. And like I don't even remember honestly, like a lot of it. I think that was from being high though, but like yeah, it's like shit was crazy. I just remember like running into the store, and they were trying to push me out the store because they didn't want the person to come in. Like they wanted like me out of the store so that nobody in there got shot. They're like, "Oh, fuck that, get her out, put her back out there." Like, and I'm like, "No, fuck that, lock the door, like lock the door." But I mean, I'm here, I made it, so. But a lot of times in the hood when shit like that happens, like people don't want nothing to do with it. Like they don't give a fuck. Like they just don't want to be part of it. Like they get that person, and I wouldn't give a fuck. Push them back out there to them. Like yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So was it going to the feds where you got clean and?
Yeah. So I'm pregnant again. When I went to do my fed time. So like I was pregnant with my daughter Jada. I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and so I had Deshaun when I first moved here. You know, got pregnant with Jada like shortly after. So I found out I was pregnant in jail. In New Orleans, if you're pregnant and on heroin, they like, and it's like some bullshit, like they will not keep you, like, because they don't want to fuck with the withdrawals and all that kind of stuff, and the police would much rather just go ahead and let you go. So I'm thinking, like, I knew this worked before, so I was like, oh, I'm pregnant and on heroin, and they were like, guess what, Salto Match, not this time, because this ain't no criminal trespass, this is a felony charge. And I was like, the fuck? And they're like, but you know what? Get a pregnancy test. And so like they tested me, and I was like, they're like, you're pregnant? I said, I am. And like, I was like, what the fuck? No, I was in shock. I was like, so I'm, you know, they thought, oh, I thought you knew you were pregnant. I'm like fucked up right now. Like, cause I didn't even know this. And I just like went through the other stuff and now I'm like, oh, are you freaking serious? So, you know.
What's the charge?
Conspiracy, RICO Act. I ended up doing like misprision, failure to render information or whatever.
That's a big
like,
sentence.
Hell yeah.
What'd you do?
5 on that. Everybody got like
5?
4 and 7 months or something like that.
Okay.
So it was like 57 months.
When you get out of the feds, do you have to do parole?
Probation. Like I don't know what's the difference.
And that probation is no joke.
Dude, I was on intense supervision.
They show up on you.
Yeah.
How long?
I was on 2 years intense supervision. They gave me an enhanced sentence actually.
They show up in suits on your ass.
Yeah, they show up at your job and like tell you to come have lunch with them and shit. Like, yeah, and like you gotta fucking, if they call you, like you gotta be there, like, you know, within like a certain amount of time. Like if they're calling you and say you're knocking, they're knocking at your door and you're not there, like it don't matter what you're doing, like you gotta stop what you're doing and go. Like, and I had a baby with a cheap ass $19.99 umbrella stroller, like trying to get shit done through the city with no car, and like a probation officer like, you can be home in 15 minutes, right? Like trying to push him over the goddamn wheels getting stuck and shit. Yeah, that shit was, it's kind of shit.
So did that get you a step closer to? So when you got out of the feds, did you go back to music?
No, like, so when I was in there, I was like, you know, I don't know. My kids is really like what got me, like what sobriety I did have, like, was the kids, because I was like, you know, I don't want them to go through what I went through, and I just want to like try to do things a little better. And I don't even know where, you know, where my other son is, and it's just, I just didn't want that stuff for them. So,
and harm reduction is a pathway to recovery.
mm-hmm.
You know?
And you know, I think, like I told my son, because my son, I have one kid that like adores me still, even like with all this shit that has, you know, happened. I got another kid that like, you know, same way, like loves me to death, and another one that like thinks I'm, you know, just angry at me that I'm not there and thinks I'm a fuck up and everything. It's weird. I never like held anything against my mom. I've always been like understanding of people and like able to look at things from different angles. And like I told my son, who had like quite a few hang-ups or whatever, like, which is understandable because like, you know, it's hard. That shit is hard to go through without, I mean, I know, because, you know, I went through the same. I told him, I said, you know, I understand where you're coming from. I said, I just don't have the anger. I said, look, I might be your mom, but just because I'm your mom, I'm not perfect. I'm a human just like you are. And I said, one day you're going to make a mistake and you're going to want somebody to forgive you, you know? And I said, so that's just...
You're like, I'm going to forgive you.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's all I can tell him, you know? I can't take anything back. I can't really, like, I'm not going to make no excuses for my behavior. But I know, you know, my kids had it better than I did. And that's an improvement. You know what I mean? Like,
generational improvement.
Yeah, you know?
I mean, you were a leader in the community at one point. You know, I mean, I remember running around Chalmers Courts and all over, you know, hearing your name. And I'm like, I guess I know her. I don't know. I probably know her. And then I met, you know, I'm sure we probably had to cross paths, but like, you know, and then the day that I finally did put a face to a name, which was not too long ago.
Yeah.
You were a leader in the community. I mean, you were helping people. You were out there doing what you do, like in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Like Tell me a little bit about that.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think regardless of whether I'm using or not, you know, like, I'm not one that people think, you know, like, just because I get high, like, you know, if my homegirl, Nisi over here, if she leaves her purse out and got fucking like 8 ball of dope and like $300 and she nods out and I could like easily take it or whatever, like just cause I'm using doesn't mean I'm gonna do that, you know. To me, like, drugs don't make you do anything, you know, like that's who you are, you know. It just like maybe the shit amplifies who you are, you know, and makes it a little more to the extreme. But I hate, like, I think that's like stereotyping. I think that's putting like a bad name for people to get high, you know, because there's people that don't get high that do shitty ass shit like that, you know, like, so yeah.
Well, how did that make you feel being somebody that, as far as outreach goes, when you were going out there spitting your game, you know what I mean, putting people on game, you know, and like helping them. I mean, what was that like for you? How did that make you feel, and what did it do for your life?
I mean, I like doing it, you know, I love doing it. Like, I never really thought I could do anything, that I'd be good at anything like that. It took me forever to finish school, you know, like,
Finish school, what degree do you have?
like just associates, you know.
Just associates.
Like, yeah. So, but yeah, it took me forever to get a 2-year degree. It took me like freaking like 6 years to even get that.
Where did you get your associates in?
Like my science, applied science and addictions counseling. Yeah. So, I mean, I like really like, it felt like natural.
That's huge. I'm still trying.
Man, it's just hard. But come to find out, like, I mean, it's cool to have it, the LCDC and all that, but that's really not, like, really not what my thing is, you know?
It's not your heart.
No, it isn't. Like,
What did you think?
Because those people don't really know what it's like.
no.
All they know is books.
Well, they, you know, they know, a lot of them know, but like, I'm not big on, like, you know, 12-step is great, and like, I definitely recommend it to people that, hey, if it's your thing, like, it's good for a lot of people. Wasn't my thing. Like, I had 13 years of sobriety and never went to a meeting. And, you know, is that like, some people be like, well, that's why I used to fucking relapse.
Sobriety?
Because,
like, are you talking about straight up?
I'm talking about
nothing?
straight up, like, nothing but cigarettes, like, no alcohol, nothing, like, sober, 13 years,
What
like.
was your life like that? For those 13 years?
It was good, you know? I mean, I had my kids, like,
You had your kid.
yeah. Like, all of them except for
You had
Deshaun.
a dope ass job.
Fucking job's amazing.
You were a leader in that job.
And I feel like, I don't feel like it's something I couldn't have continued, you know, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like people weren't ready for what that looks like for people to work with people that are still using.
I relapsed.
Yeah,
I
like,
was doing outreach for a good minute.
It's become a lot more open now. People are doing outreach and harm reduction
man.
and being open about using recreationally.
I had to get on buprenorphine. I was like, it started from gonna split a 20 once a week to, you know, maybe on the weekends, and then we're doing 1.5 grams a day. I'm ODing all the time.
I'm him once a week.
And you know, it's like we still have our house that we rented, and we still have everything that we worked for. And I'm like, I can't afford to go to treatment.
That's what yep.
But I'm like, fuck it. So I would try to take kratom during the week to cruise, right? And then do dope on the weekends, but it wasn't holding me. So
Yep.
I'm like, I gotta get on Suboxone. So I did that, and I came back.
It was me going to the hospital to make me do that.
Yeah, she had, she was getting abscesses.
I went septic all the way. I waited so long that it was
Ooh.
like in.
Sounds like something I would do.
We were both
like-
working in the recovery industry at this time, or
Yeah.
outreach, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I know what you mean, and I've been on methadone for 8 years, but I was like, fuck that methadone bullshit. I'm doing Suboxone this time, and
Yeah, man.
so tell me, what happened when you relapsed?
Ooh, like I tried to continue working and everything, and I had a lot going on with 10-year relationship ending, where the kids we raised the kids in the same house, everything was like good. I had cancer, so huh?
What kind of cancer?
I had cancer, of the uterine cancer runs in my family. So, I have that, I had that, was going through that. And, my relationship was, just not, the whole time the whole time I was sober, I was prostituting, too.
Sure.
I was in sobriety, but I still, supplemented my income,
How often were you prostituting?
Pretty much once a day, at least.
Yeah. How much were you how much were you charging for a blowjob, and how much were you charging for the full thing?
I mean, my minimum was 100, but I'll say I've had bad days where I'll take 80 or something, but
For the whole thing, right?
yeah.
How much?
Well, it's
How much for a blowjob?
Flat rate.
Or you
I want 100.
You were like, I don't fuck.
Man, I got 160 for a blowjob the other day.
60.
160 for 5 minutes. I mean, I ain't I'm just saying it's I know, people think that sounds like a lot and stuff, but I'm a human being, goddammit. That's not just you're not ordering a fucking pizza. That's some shit that's some that's a delicacy,
Have you gotten used to it? Like numb to it?
I've always been used to it. I didn't have
you
to.
don't give a motherfucker about it.
No, I don't. I'm coming from 3rd generation. So I grew up. This is nothing to me. So I just recently have started having any kind of feelings about is this bad, or am I wrong or something, because my dude is the first person ever really kind of gave me a hard time about it, period, to make me feel fucked up. But I don't know, I just think of it as a job.
So your dude was like, hey, so your dude's not pimping you. He's telling you this ain't cool. Or is he pimping you, but it's we need to draw back on this. We need to pull the reins on this.
I definitely, I'm independent. I don't, not, they don't really have any pimps in Austin, you know what I mean? Or really anywhere too much nowadays.
We don't have a Blade or a track down,
I mean, if Oldthorpe and Burden is the Blade, or I guess Georgian and Powell, I don't fucking know. But I was on Bizinet not that long ago. It's definitely not Bizinet. But I definitely bring some of the bigger city, I don't see anybody else wearing fishnet and thongs out there on Congress other than myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had
I seen you the first time I met you, and I was like, she got it going on.
Different than you know what I mean? They don't. I'm what are y'all doing, man?
Austin's big, but it ain't got the big city thing.
No, but.
So tell me about today. And what you're trying to do today. What is your immediate goal right now? What are you trying to do right now?
Pay my rent.
What's your next step? What's your next move? What are you trying to do?
Man, right now, I'm just trying to stay off the streets and like maintain, and my dude's like been locked up for the past 7 months, so I'm out here like, I'm used to having him out here, you know, and the support and everything, and as much as he like would bitch and moan about like having to like have my back on some shit, like if I didn't have the rent, I knew like that he's gonna call me, I'm sorry bitches and everything else, but he's gonna pay it, you know, like I'm not gonna have to worry about it, you know. So like,
How much longer does he have?
well, we get sentenced August 23rd, so he doesn't even like, he's been going to court for 7 months, but he hasn't like got his time yet. So I'm just hoping for like 41 months or less, you know, because he got a pistol charge and it's like his first time going to the feds. So like I'm hoping that he ain't gonna be in there for too long. But it's just been hard. Like I had to pay the lawyer. You know, I paid the lawyer and didn't pay rent. You know, and then like I got sick. I got an abscess. I couldn't work because I mean, when you're out here doing this, like there's no sick time. There's no fucking, you know.
Brian Bernard.
PTO.
Yeah.
It's not Brian Bernard.
No, it's nothing. Like you know.
I'm talking about the lawyer.
It's Popper and I'm not gonna say the other one because they're real. Like the feds are real fucking. But Popper is his lawyer.
So what happens if he gets out on intensive probation like you were before? Are you gonna do it with him?
Yeah, I already told him. I said that he's probably the only person that could. I did it for my kids, but like my son was like, "Mom, let me come get you, and I'll help you." And I told him, I said, "Look, I said, do not take this the wrong way. It's not you." I said, you guys were the reason I got clean all those 13 years. I said, but it's to the point now where you guys have your own life, like, you know. And I'm a person. They say you can't do it for somebody else. Fuck that, you know. Like if your reason is for somebody else, if your reason's for somebody else, then whatever the fuck it is that gets you sober, you know. And people could say, well, that's why you relapse, you know, it's because you did it for somebody else. Okay, well, fuck it. I had 13 good years. I had 13 good years of sobriety, and I got a lot accomplished, and I fucking think that's great, you know, like.
Well, yeah, 13 years.
I got sober for my kids. He got sober for his mom.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, but I'm still a drug addict. I'm always going to be dealing with this shit.
Yeah. Yep. And I told him I care about this dude a lot, like, you know, I want him to succeed, and like, you know, if whatever it takes, you know, like I'm not gonna put him in a bad situation. But right now, I told him I can't do it right now. Like I'm stressed the fuck out. I'm dealing with this stuff with you, and I said I'll do it with you, but I can't do it by myself out here. I can't, like, not at the moment. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, or the next day, but right now I can't.
So we got another guest with us. What do you call yourself?
Lucy.
Lucy. Where you from?
I'm a citizen of the universe. I've lived everywhere. I grew up in River, California, which is right next to Compton, Watts. Definitely ghetto.
I've been to Watts.
Yeah, it's something to do.
This is between you.
And my family's from El Paso.
And then maybe you try to scoot a little closer to her, Dana, if you can. Yeah, no, I was saying, I've been to Inglewood, I've been through Inglewood, I've been to South Central, I've been to Watts, I've been to Compton, and
you went through them,
it ain't like Austin, I'll tell you that.
No, it's not. No, it's
It ain't
not.
like Austin.
It's not like anywhere I've ever lived before, and I've lived a lot of different places.
I went to some places in Santa Ana, over in Orange County.
Yeah,
Santa Ana.
Orange County, yeah, that's more like Austin.
Well, Santa Ana was rough as a motherfucker.
But back in my day, it wasn't so bad. Back when I was there.
How'd you end up here?
Well, my roots are in El Paso. I was born in El Paso, and My family's from Chihuahua, actually. I come from a long line of beautiful women and very strong, independent women. And I'm very proud of that, very proud of that. Unfortunately, I took a different path, but it's led me and created me to who I am today, so I'm good with that. And unfortunately, not everybody else is, but I'm okay with it.
I do.
As far as me being here, actually cancer brought me here. I had cancer twice, and before I was told I was terminally ill, and I had 4 months to live. I was actually locked up in penitentiary when they told me that, and here I am today, many years later, and I kicked cancer's ass. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. I bowed down to the god of chemo because she kicked my ass. But it's okay. I'm here, and that's really what's important. I feel like I had something to do that my Creator intended me to do, and so that's why.
How long? So you came from South Central, Watts.
Yeah.
How old were you when you came to Texas?
I was 14.
14.
And right after, shortly after, I hated El Paso. I went to a high school that was full of white socialites, and I hated them, and so I started this gang called Eastside Locas, and that is my claim to fame. And there's still a gang called Eastside Locas today. And
Did you mess with any of the Aztecas?
Yeah, well, you're not really allowed to talk about that stuff. But yeah, I know a few. My family's large. When I was 15, I was really, my father molested his daughters when they were young, and so I wasn't really happy at home. I decided I was going to take every pill in the house and just end it. Well, it didn't work. And I was really mad at myself because I thought I couldn't even do that right. Unfortunately, I was born and raised Catholic, and you're not allowed to do that. So my mom brought a priest in to talk to me, and so I could confess. And I must have told the priest what my dad did, because he went to my mom, although he couldn't say what I had said to him. He did tell her to leave my dad, and that goes against the whole Catholic thing, the grain of that. But I think what I had told him was more harsh than what he told my mom. Unfortunately, it took her a little bit longer to leave him, but I didn't go back home. I ran away, and I hitchhiked to California. And me and 3 other girls, we were 15, almost 16, and we were on our own hitchhiking to California, just we weren't scared. We weren't scared, and that's what the crazy part about it is because we were out there, and we should have been scared. We should have been scared, but
you didn't know enough to be scared.
We really didn't. Hindsight is 2020, and
I used to live in El Paso. I know.
Good place.
Cotton Street, Texas Street.
Yeah, and my memories of it, because when I was a teenager, I was going to bars and Juarez, drinking drown for $5. It was cool as hell. But that's what started my addiction process with what my father was doing to his daughters. And, there was 2 of us, and I think my sister, she went a different way in how she handled what my dad did. She passed away recently, so I'm just a little so raw about that. But I went to drugs and alcohol, that was my fix. And I've told people many times, drugs and alcohol have saved my life more times than once, because had I not had that to turn to, I would have taken my life. I would have continued to try to kill myself. And so I don't, now that I'm older and I can look back and say, I don't feel bad about my addiction. I feel bad about what I've done, I know that I haven't taken any hostages with my addiction. I've tried to keep it away from my family as best I could. They've never seen me wasted like I've been. I've separated that from them, and that was real important to me because they didn't need to be subjected to the life I chose, because I chose it. At the end of the day, maybe life helped me to choose it, but nevertheless, I have to be responsible for my own actions, and it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, but I don't regret. I have no regrets. Very little in life. I regret that I wasn't able to have children, but that really wasn't my choice. So I can't really say anything about that. But and my life has been crazy. I've gone from one end of this country to the other end. I started in California. I went all the way to Cleveland, Ohio. I think that's furthest east I lived. I went there 18 years old, running from a guy who had me captive in El Paso. He put property tags on my neck and called me his property, and I had no choice. I was 17 years old, and he claimed me, and I was stuck. And he told me he would kill me if I left, and I believed him because he had tried many times. It was horrific. Terroristic, to say the least, and I was just a kid. I was really just a kid. I didn't think so at the time. I thought I was growing, I'm bigger. I've already ran away. I'm just really badass. A friend of mine who had actually he introduced me to him had gone to Cleveland to go. She was in Mail House jail. She used to write this guy in prison, and she was crazy. She went to Cleveland, and then I talked to her one day, and she sent a bus ticket and prepaid it over there in Cleveland. She said, "Get on that bus tonight. It's gonna be there." And I was scared. Really, a few times in life I've been scared. But he was at the bar that night because I was a stripper at a very young age. I started when I was 16. But he watched over me like a hawk, and he had three other wives. There was four of us, and we were all, it was just really crazy. They chose that life. I didn't have a choice. He took me, and that was it. And I don't know if that's how they started. They never spoke about it, but at the end of the day, they chose to stay, and I chose not to. And I ran away. I got on that bus that night. All I had was my clothes on my back and my dance outfits in a bag. And I got on the bus, and 52 hours later, I was in Cleveland, Ohio. And it was cold as hell, and I had no jacket, and it was snowing. And I thought it was cool as snow. I remember looking at it, oh wow, it's so cool. And I said, oh my God, it's so cold.
I remember it snowing in El Paso too.
Yeah, it does, but it don't get cold like it does in Cleveland. It was freezing, and he did eventually find me. And I remember getting a phone call. I was dancing in this bar and getting a phone call, and I got on the phone. I'm just happy-go-lucky, and get on the phone, hello, and he said, hey, baby, I'm in town. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Oh God, my skin still crawls when I say that.
The guy that you escaped from said, hey, baby, I'm in town. I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Yeah. And I mean, I fell on my knees. I knew I was going to die. I felt I was going to die. I didn't know what to leave there or stay. I didn't know what to do. And I kept looking at the door. He never walked through the door. He never was in Cleveland. He just lied, because he knew he could,
He wanted to
He had that power. Yeah, he had that power. He really was the devil himself. Yeah, he was the devil himself. I mean, he used to put me in a box. I'm scared to death of bugs.
And it worked.
Yeah, because he put me in a box and buried, and put me in the ground as punishment for if he thought I did something wrong or spoke to him sideways or whatever. So, I learned really young how to be really accommodating to people who tried to hurt me, so that I wouldn't get hurt. It started with my father. and it went on, and unfortunately, they used my body as power for them, but I turned it around and I used my body as power for me, you know. And I felt like when I was on a dance stage, I had all eyes on me, and that gave me so much
confidence.
Yeah, and like, you know, and now I'm gonna get you, and I'm not gay. I love men. I would love to meet more of them because I've met very few men in my life. My version or my definition of a man.
Absolutely.
But I hated men. I hated them. I hated them all, and I didn't care who I hurt, who I did. I didn't care. I didn't care. I would be as cruel and as sadistic as I could, you know, to manipulative, to say the least, just to get what I wanted, and because that's what they did to me.
What's life been like for you in Austin?
It's been good. It's been good. You know, I became cancer-free here, you know, and I was surrounded by my family, which I love very much. It's been a journey, to say the least. I didn't really do very much here in Austin until a few years ago, because but I did graduate Texas State, got my degree in sociology and minor in psychology. Yeah, and I'm really proud of that, because it took me, you think it took me a long time, it took me 20 years. I started when I was 28, and I finished in 2012. That was a long time.
It's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it really is. You know, I thought, well, if I'm good, I could still. When I went back, I still had. I wasn't in remission yet, so I still had chemo and all that to do, and I thought, well, you know, if I die, then at least I'll die. I'll have this, you know, be something to be proud of. Because I quit school when I was a kid because I didn't want to be bothered by it, you know. But I always loved school. I loved to learn. I loved it, and I was always very good at academics. But anyway, I got my degree here, but I stayed like in my room all the time, you know. Other than school, that's all I did, and I felt like I was just wasting away, and my Creator didn't spare my life in the miraculous way they did to have me not use it or do something, you know. And so it was much to hurt my mother for me to leave her. I left my house with my mom, and I moved here. We were in Kyle, and I moved to Austin. And I worked doing staging for concerts, and you know, just doing all kinds of stuff, just cool stuff. I love to do physical. I like to do non-traditional work. You know, I go against the grain a lot, you know, because I feel like that normal definition is my version of normal is not everybody else's. You know, I'm a unique individual, and as that, you know, have a unique version of what my truth is, what my normal is, what my, you know, my happiness is, as we all do, you know. And so mine can't be wrong because it's mine. You know, I'm the one who says what it is. So how can it be wrong, you know? I think people judge each other too much, you know. You know, I felt judged most of my life, and it's just not a cool thing to do to somebody. You know, I think that when I dying helped me realize a lot about life, you know, and because I found out the way I found out and where I was, I had to refuse medical treatment, and you know, it could have taken me any time, but I knew that I had a month left to do on my sentence, and they told me I had 4 months to live. But in some epiphany kind of way, when I went back to my cell at night, you know, you go back, the wing that I was on, it was a man's institution, but they had a female wing, and when you went to Galveston to see the doctor. Well, this one, you go to a different cell every time you left the unit. So when I went back to this cell, I went, and it said on the wall, and, you know, it was just the grace of God. It says, "I'm the way, the truth, and the light, and whoever believes in me shall live forever." There was a big lighthouse drawn on this wall.
Say it one more time.
"I am the way, the truth, and the light, and whoever believes in me shall live forever." And that night, when you shut off the lights, they had openings at the top and the bottom, and the light shines right on the lighthouse, and the lighthouse light shines right on the scripture, and it was just so beautiful. And I knew in that moment I was not going to die, and no matter what I went through, and it never wavered, it never failed me. I wasn't a belief or a hope or it was the knowledge. I knew, just as sure as I knew I was standing where I was standing, I knew I wasn't going to die, and it never left me. So all of the hair loss and all the throwing and losing weight and scars, I mean, cancer did a number on me. It really did. If the cure doesn't kill you, you're going to be okay, really.
Are you healed?
Yes, I'm cancer free. I hope. I've had some things occur lately that I have to go and have checked, but yes, I am cancer free at this moment. And I say, yay, me!
Survivor.
Yeah, even though I didn't do anything to accomplish it myself.
How did you meet this amazing person?
We met on Crack Alley.
She used to buy. She used to buy stuff from me.
Yeah. And I did. And see, I met her, and everything that she did, when she told me about harm reduction and everything else, I thought to myself, man, this is badass. This lady she kicks ass, because everybody thinks we're one thing and one thing only, drug addicts. But I have so many different things. I've been a homeowner, I've been a wife, I've been a sister, a daughter, I've been a graduate student, I've been a lot of different things, a traveler, all these things. So I'm just not, in a nutshell, a drug addict. I am a lot of things which put on my tapestry, and this is my life, and I love it. I love it, and I love who I am today. And the cancer gave me that. As scary as it was, and as terrible as I felt, I don't regret having cancer. I don't, it saved my life, I believe.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
I mean,
I told you.
can I grab your mic?
Yeah.
Real quick? All right. You guys lean in if I ask. All right, brother. Are you an Austinite?
No, from Houston originally. Been here 19 years though.
19 years.
Yep.
So you've seen a change?
Oh, huge change. Huge change.
What part of town did you originally move in?
When I first moved here, we went to Lago Vista.
Okay, well that's damn nice over there on the lake.
Yep, and I was supposed to be working in Leander and immediately got transferred to Elgin. So I was driving from Lago Vista to Elgin every day with a pregnant wife. It was interesting. So,
I'm gonna switch. I want to put him in the middle, so it's more like focus.
okay, all right.
Here we go.
All right.
Already.
So you had a pregnant wife.
Yep.
And you were living in Lago Vista. And you were driving where to work?
Elgin.
That's quite a trip.
It's like 55 miles each way.
Well, was it worth it?
No. No, it wasn't. In fact, I worked as hard as I could to get into a position to start my own company. I've been in home building and real estate most of my life. When I grew up, it was kind of a weird thing. My mom had postpartum depression, and I saw her about 3 weeks in the first 3 years of my life because, they didn't know what to do at that time. They didn't know how to treat it or anything else. So they basically institutionalized them. And so that became a very I mean, I love my mom. I was always there for her, did whatever I was supposed to, but she never really bonded with me, and it was a very, very different relationship than most people have. And yeah, it was strange. And, so there's a lot of background to how you get there. But anyway, that's what happened. And then I was pretty much a great happy-go-lucky kid. My dad was a very successful guy in the oil business and engineering. He was one of the very few first guys that designed computer controls for the railways. So, very cutting-edge early stuff, and as a result, he ended up traveling a lot. And so while I was left on my own, I was very much made to believe that, it was my responsibility to kind of carry the family and be the man there whenever he was gone. When I was, I think, 7 years old, we had a conversation where he told me, "You're not like other people. You've got something special. You have to be successful."
This is what your dad told you.
Yeah. And, he said, "I need you to be successful because you have it in you," which is kind of a cool, encouraging thing from a father. But it also, in that environment, put a hell of a lot of pressure on me to be successful. So then at 8 years old, I went through a traumatic experience for 3 years where I was abused. So a lot of guys don't talk about that. They're not willing to. It took me a long time to come to a place where I could even admit that had happened. Never did tell my dad. He was a very loving guy, but very protective. One time a coach hit me wrong, below the pads when I was playing football. The next day I went in and I saw him pinned against the wall of the field house as I went in, with my dad telling, "Don't you ever put your hands on my son again," which, as a freshman in high school, that's pretty terrifying,
Did you get more playing time?
I was a baseball player. Yeah, my sophomore year, I actually made the varsity. In the third game, got a broken kneecap, and that was the end of football. But I played baseball and actually went to college on a baseball scholarship. And after my freshman year, got drafted by the Reds. 3 days into camp, had an accident, tore up my shoulder, and it was over. So,
did you get your signing bonus?
I was a supplemental draft, so the signing bonus wasn't a lot. I went back to college,
You got a little something.
Yep. Then I went overseas to New Zealand and got a law degree, and never practiced because I met enough lawyers that I realized I didn't want to be one of those guys.
Why?
I went into law with the misconception that it was about providing justice for people and fighting for right and wrong. What I found is it's a verbal gymnastic competition to sway people, someone, judge or jury, into thinking the way you do or seeing it the way you do.
Like
even if you know that's wrong.
Right?
It's worse than a salesman get. That's what it is, manipulation. And I couldn't do that. I actually then got into, we had a family farm that I ran for a few years, built up a business. It was built on the oil industry, and it's kind of a long story because we had a catfish farm. Okay, so we raised catfish.
Go fishing.
Oh man, it was great. We had 900 acres where we raised catfish, and 1,500 acres of rice and soybeans. So it was a hell of a farming operation. I was running at 22. So, no, that was down in Angleton, Lake Jackson area.
So,
and,
what started?
So my whole life, I built an incredibly successful business background, personal relationships, went through a couple of marriages, couldn't figure out how to communicate in a way they understood how I was caring for them. or I was picking people that wanted to manipulate me and run over me, you know, one of the two. Eventually, after the second marriage, I moved to Houston because my dad was sick. He ended up passing away, and I ended up taking care of my mom, who had Parkinson's and dementia. And that was 7 years of some of the worst experience I've ever had in my life. It was just heart-wrenching.
I really built character, unfortunately.
It builds character, but it also breaks you because you cannot fix it. And at that time, I ended up having 2 kids, got remarried, had 2 kids late. They're exceptional kids, both of them with IQs that are skyrocket high. My son's in the National Guard and going to A&M, doing a dual degree in cybersecurity and history, so he can get a law degree.
You must be proud.
Oh, I am. An amazing kid, absolutely amazing. And my daughter, who's 2 years younger, is going to be an exotic animal veterinarian. She got her first job this summer as a surgical tech at an animal shelter. First job ever, you know, crazy.
Good genetics.
Well, it is, and a lot of it comes from my dad. I have to tell you, he was that guy. Yeah. Well, yeah, my daughter and my son, yeah, and they're great. They're amazing kids. I always tell people it's kind of nice to have genius around you, as in life. It's just a shame it jumps a generation. But it's a very strange experience. It really is. But oh yeah, it is. That is. I've got a nephew. And turned out I had an older daughter I didn't know I had. Found out about it when she was turning 21, about to go to Iraq as an Army nurse. So, you know, it was crazy. All of that happened at the same time in 2008 when a home building company I'd built up, our bank went out of business in the middle of construction. And I lost a true fortune in a day. That ended up stretching out, owing another $1.5 million over the last 12 years before I got it paid off. It devastated me. My ex and my wife left, took the kids. They stayed close, and we co-parented, which I have to give her a lot of credit for that, because that's when I ended up getting depressed. I ended up, starting to use substances, alcohol, and cocaine to deal with it, and it's been tough. It's been real tough. I really can't tell you. It's both those still.
How did you wind up meeting these 2 beautiful exotic women?
I met Dana through another friend. And she was having a tough day, and it was absolutely interesting because I got to kind of care for her in the middle of that. And the interesting thing is I have a lot of care for the people like this around me, not just because I know what I've had to struggle through, but because I have met some absolutely amazing people that are on the threshold of becoming the greatness of who they are. You try
to instill hope.
Always. That's one of the things that I'm always talking to them about is, one of the things that frustrates me a lot is the abusive relationships I see out here. I've done a lot of thinking about how and why that goes on, because there's sickness on both sides in
Absolutely.
that. In fact, my first marriage, I actually was married to a violent bipolar that tried to kill me 6 times.
Sure.
And so you go through those things, and all of a sudden you see the whole world differently. And at some point you realize how sick you are in that situation, that you even allow it to happen. You know.
It's got to be fun.
It is fun
to be around such beautiful women.
Absolutely.
You know, and then also, you know, catching a little buzz here and there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, who wouldn't think it was fun, right?
Right. What's that?
Kind of
Yes.
release.
Can I release?
No, kind of release.
That's exactly what it ends up being, and a connection.
Sure.
A connection point, because the thing that it was really strange when I went through the divorce, when our business fell apart. I was in some leadership positions in town, and everybody walked away. Everybody walked away because I struggled. I got depressed. You know, I actually at one point thought about taking my life.
Sure.
Stopped, couldn't do it because of kids and everybody else, you know. But I was honest about that. They couldn't deal with it. And literally everybody that was supposed to be a support walked out.
But you were honest, and that is huge.
It's really strange because
takes the biggest nuts, you know, that, so kudos to you.
Well, thank you. It's funny, it's only in this environment that you meet people who understand that. Isn't that the crazy thing?
I got a question for you.
Sure.
So, when you hear about toxic relationships with these two beautiful women and things that they've gone through and the way that men have treated them, how does that make you feel?
It breaks my heart. Something I've told Dana before is we're given strength, okay, men are, for a purpose. And that purpose is to create a secure environment where the women and children in our lives can grow to their fullest potential. That's where our strength should be. That only happens when we know who we are, why we're here, and what we're supposed to do. It isn't easy, don't get me wrong, because men need the encouragement of respect. When they don't get it, and often that happens partly because of the brokenness around them, you know, then if they don't have that strength place to go back to, they begin to demand it. And then the strength turns in.
Well,
and once the strength turns in, it collapses the whole thing.
I mean, I'm right there with you, but see, I think a lot of guys don't even get to that point to understand what we were just talking about.
I totally
because
agree.
They're so insecure their whole life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they just never mature to understand.
It's interesting because that thing that set me on a self-definition of I had to be successful, and that's who I was, and that's what fell apart when I lost that business. I didn't do anything wrong. In fact, I'd spent 15 years before that fixing other people's home building companies all over the country. I'd go in, take a broken company, and in 2 years it was profitable and running great. And then when mine broke, I couldn't do a damn thing about it. And
no one was there to help you.
well, I had a good friend who was going to. When we went up to Dallas, and they'd done some shifty stuff with the whole thing, and with the financing. The bank didn't even own the notes anymore on the construction loans. So we couldn't even buy them out of foreclosure because they couldn't be sure they owned them. So it was a nightmare. It really was.
Do you ever feel like you're like, because I know you have a special bond with these women, do you feel like are there protectors sometimes?
I have learned that the only way you can be a protector for them is through
Teaching.
giving them an opportunity, telling them, encouraging them, being there when they need to have someone to help them pick up. But you can't, if you don't go through, just like lifting weights, if you don't go through the process of the resistance, you never get strong enough. So it's literally coming out of it and fighting that, having the encouragement, and it's like having a trainer with you, so you can do more. Same thing, same concept. They have to go through the difficulty of the resistance to win, to be able to come out. The crazy part is I haven't found that in my own life.
Well, it's not that crazy, because you know what you're looking for, and you know what you need. So it's not that crazy.
Yeah.
But do you ever see things like the things that you're trying to show them and teach them, when they misfire, backfire? Does that upset you, and how do you deal with it?
Of course it's upsetting, but it's not upsetting in my life. It's upsetting because it's like I see them stacking a failure. And it's like brick on brick. You do that with failure or success. You don't build a strong brick wall just overnight. You literally have to put one layer on the other, and what binds it has to become solid. So going back to home building, because that's where I always seem to find answers. But the reality is, it hurts me there because I feel like I'm not doing enough or doing it well enough. And honestly, sometimes the only thing you can do is pull back until they are at a point you
can't force somebody.
Yeah.
And I got a serious question for you. What has crack cocaine, how has that affected your life?
Oh, not well. It's not good. And it's weird because I'll go weeks without, and then I'll get real lonely, then I'll go out, and then I often am very disgusted by the entire episode.
After it's over?
Yeah, well, even during it, because there's to some degree you're going to be used, but it's done in a way sometimes that's so flagrant that it's like, and I get upset with myself, and I'll leave and I'll go away, and I'm not talking about these girls, but other people I've tried to help. So it's been, truly, at times I think, it's obviously takes something way greater than what I can do. All I can do is my part in the situation. And I have to find a place where I can connect with people and kind of get some things back on track.
I got one last question for
Sure.
y'all. Can we start with Miss Dana?
Yeah. How do you? Okay.
Dana, if you had advice or just one thing to say to anybody, or just whatever's on your mind, a burning desire, as they say, I'm sure you've heard that term many times. If you had one thing to say, one piece of advice to somebody who is thinking about going down the road that we have.
There's a lot of things. It's hard to pick one.
You can pick one. I know you can. As smart as you are, as many things as you've been through.
Well, I think one important thing is I think a lot of people feel down on themselves about their lifestyle or what they do, or they're ashamed, and they're people talk shit, especially about clothes, Like we're like the fucking. I think I respect everybody's hustle, and we're all here trying to survive and do the same thing. And we're human, and we're just like everybody else, you know. Like, and like I hate when people is like, "Well, you knew she was a hoe," or you know, like just certain little comments and stuff. And it's like, dang, like I'm not a hoe. Hoeing is what I do, my hustle, my profession. That's not what I am, it's what I do. So, I guess would be just for anybody, like, to not be ashamed of what they do, you know, and to not, like, feel bad about, you know, what you do, and not dwell on it. Because, I don't know.
What you do is not who you are.
What you do with it, yep. Yeah. What you do is not who you are, yeah. And just to be your best of whatever you are, you know, like, and to be proud of whatever you do, you know, like, cause the self-esteem and how you feel about yourself is a lot of, you know, making it out here.
I got a question just for you. See, I look at it like me, just for Jay, is like, I try to create the man that I want to be, the man I want to look like, the man I want to act like, the man that I want to be. And then I work towards that. Do you feel like that is equivalent to anything you were trying to say, or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, probably much better spoken. Like, my thoughts are sometimes like,
It's
end
like-
up being rambles.
Like if you want to be blasted out with tattoos, jacked, and make a bunch of money, then do it. You know what I mean? It's like,